and good morning, Internet. It is another Saturday morning, and this is the Vagabond Nerds. I'm Jason McLean, and this big, beautiful hunk of man meat next to me is Raymond Perez. Say hi, Ray.
Hey, bud. How are you, man?
I'm good. How about yourself? I mean, it's been,
It's been almost a month, I think. Ziggy, it's good to see you again, bud.
Glad to be back, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry about the delay. We are going to make up with it on this show. We've got this scheduled for 2 hours, so we're going to see if we can be somewhat entertaining for that long. I doubt it.
We haven't even been entertaining for an hour. Why would we start now?
It's going to be like the McGregor-Mayweather fight, where after about round 8, I'm going to lose steam here. All right, but before we get started, though, on a serious note, I just want to say to all those affected by Hurricane Harvey, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone. Certainly, if you're in the Dallas area, be looking out for centers if you need to stay in any place because of displacement from this disaster. I think the number for that in the Dallas area, if you are on cell phone, is 201. For those of the people who are looking to donate, there are a ton of donation centers around the area. Certainly, you can go on redcross.org. If you're looking at donating stuff, one of the things I would say is that we're seeing a lot of clothes and a lot of outpouring, which is great. Please don't forget necessities like bottled water, because you've got, I think Beaumont still has no running water down there.
They shut everything down because they're the water treatment plant flooded.
Yeah, so
I mean, there's some irony there.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, anyone coming up north, anyone hearing us, let's do our part. Try to donate. Try to help your fellow people out there, your fellow man. So
and actually, to go along with that, Jansen, who runs DallasOnAir.com, is
my boss.
Yes, yeah. Ziggy's boss, the one who signs that paycheck. He every year, some of us in Dallas may recognize him. He goes around every year as Spider-Man and delivers toys to underprivileged children here in South Dallas, and he wants to do the same thing for the kids in Houston. So they are collecting toys and I think money as well for that. I'll have a link in our Facebook probably this afternoon. So if you want to do something with that, and just on that note, I received some criticism for sharing that from some people. They said, people just really need to be giving money. There's a lot of supplies. Mm-hmm. And the truth be told, this reminds me of something I read back that happened during World War II. There was a colonel who was liberating a concentration camp. And what happened was he got these supplies in, and amongst the supplies were lipstick and makeup. And he's like, this is the most ridiculous use of our time and supplies and space that he'd ever seen. But by the end of that day, he noticed there was a change. The women who, they had nothing but rags. They were malnourished, but they were putting on makeup, and it changed the entire attitude of the compound and the people in there who had gone through such hell. Just that one little piece of normalcy made them feel more like more human and gave them hope. So, yes, give money, give supplies, the things that are absolutely necessary, but also, let's not forget that, particularly for these kids, that one toy, a Captain America or a teddy bear may be something that helps
of normalcy.
them. Yeah, something that gets them through this. So, anything that you can, Houston and pretty much all of South Texas, we're here for you.
All right. Going past that, we're going to start our 2-hour Nerdathon Fest here. Because we have been out for so long, we are going to try to catch up on everything that happened.
Everything important that happened.
Yeah, there are certain things I probably will make fun of a little bit later, but let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with Marvel, because Marvel, this hour I think we should dedicate to, we'll start with Marvel. Marvel had a lot coming out this over the last month. Let's start with the Avengers Infinity War stuff. What are your thoughts on all that?
Oh my gosh, so that's a lot, right? They wrapped the first one. They're starting the second one already. They're in production for that. And by that, I guess, I say second one, number 4.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how that's going to come along. You've got a lot of talk about those who will make this one, those who won't make it, survival Will we see some of the main characters die? I think contractually, I think money-wise, you have to. I think you do lose a couple of key players. I don't know if it'll be, necessarily at the end of 3 or at the end of 4, but I do see people not coming back. What does that look like? I'm not really sure, but I have to imagine, even though he's the one that started it, and we know he'll be in the 4th one, Robert Downey Jr.'s paycheck has got to be in the thought of Disney of who else they can get to play Tony Stark, or maybe leave the character alone for a while after this. Who knows? That's the other talk, is that you'll see a setup in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that really kind of changes. What would we be, Phase 4 for Marvel? So it'll be interesting to see on how that's going to be approached. But I think, again, I think almost you have to kind of get rid of a lot of the heavy hitters just to kind of bring this back to a reasonable
I'd like to
scale.
See. Okay, this is just me, but I've always loved War Machine. I'd like to see War Machine get his own movie. Like, switch out to Robert Downey Jr. and give us War Machine.
Okay, but I think there are other characters that probably deserve a shot at it first. I mean, a Hawkeye and Black Widow movie or something like that. I don't necessarily,
Well, what I'm saying is, I get that, but what I'm saying is, instead of Robert Downey Jr.
We're going to try this again from the top. Go ahead.
So instead of that previous alcoholic being being Iron Man, whenever there's an Iron Man movie or the need for Iron Man,
alcoholic in all of us, man. That's a horrible thing to say.
Speak for yourself.
Are you trying? Yeah.
No, Ossifer. No. Just
Or
just
as a shout out to my daughter who was trying to figure it out yesterday. No, officer, I'm sober. It's like, sweetie, that's going to get you arrested, baby girl.
She doing a lot of driving as a 12-year-old?
Yeah, well, you know how it goes.
All right. Yes, sadly, I do.
A hardship license.
There you go. So that's a
Exactly.
real hardship license. That's right. How bad was that hardship that not only did they get the license, but they were like, sweetie, you're allowed to drink a little bit. Go ahead.
We started Daniel off at
let it go,
18 months.
man.
All right. Anyway,
This is all show material. None of this is real.
okay, one thing about that I've seen so far that is slightly disappointing to me is I'm not seeing anything from either Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Netflix properties crossing over. And
I wouldn't want it to. That universe is already convoluted enough. By the time they are done with Phase 3, the Marvel universe, just the movies alone would have consisted of 22 movies, 23 movies, something like that.
Right.
So why? I mean, there's no need to cross anything over in. Let them have that division. This is the one place where DC got them, and we'll get into that probably in the second half of the show. But I love the fact that they kept it separate to do things like this, because you don't have to worry about. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see the Defenders pop up, especially in the Infinity War, right? Because that's everyone's in part of this. But at the same time, what is it? What does the service to those characters look like? You've already got a movie populated with dozens of characters, of main characters. These aren't even like, we're not even getting to the Pepper Potts of the world. This is just the main characters that you've got to service, and you want to add more of that. I mean,
here's how, and I guess this is how you do it. You give them minor cameos in both the first and the second. And basically, remember how the X-Men, the Phoenix saga, right? When everything went absolutely bad, they had a scene where people were being saved all throughout New York. And you had Thor showing up, or Doctor Strange. It was just a brief cameo of them showing up and doing something. Just do that, where it's like...
So we're obviously not talking about the crappy movie for X-Men, right? You're talking about the comics.
The cartoon.
cartoon.
Remember back the
that's
cartoon
right.
in the
That's
90s?
right.
Yeah,
1990. That's right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I'm just saying, do something like that, right? Where it's like, things are going bad, and maybe Iron Man is calling, and he's talking to Coulson. He's like, hey, I need y'all, this is going bad.
Coulson, who they no longer believe is alive, Coulson.
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there.
We already have them coordinating in Avengers 2 through Colby Smuthers, whatever her name is.
But they don't know he's alive still.
Well,
I mean, 5 seasons into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Marvel movies, they still think Coulson's dead. So, what? I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Your point is
have
something really quick just to not... I think that's pointless, man. It's going to feel forced. I mean, that would feel forced to me. I would actually be more pissed off as a viewer, going, what was that? What was it needed for?
Well, I'm just saying you still have flashbacks where it's like, hey, something's
What
happening
was
in
it?
New York, and you see them showing up and fighting.
It feels forced. I can tell you right now, it's going to feel. It's not.
What does Black Panther have to do with the Infinity War? I'm just saying everything about this movie is forced.
Well, but there's levels of this that you can appreciate. Look, at the end of the day, anytime you go to a movie, you're going to escapism. So I have no doubts that there's no one that exists that can fight off an alien invasion. Although I'm sure if there was, it would be quite entertaining unto itself. But I just having the bulk of characters that they have, I think is just too much. I think you'd have to service everything. Well, I mean, and why stop there? Bring in The Runaways that's coming up on Hulu. Bring in,
Cloak and Dagger.
I mean, just bring, and there's no point for that. Let them exist and let them be. Don't, and I'm pretty sure the writers are feeling the same way. I mean, you got to imagine that the Russo brothers are like, we've got enough characters in the sandbox. We're good. Thanks. Anything else it's overkill.
I understand where you're coming from. I don't necessarily disagree. I just think I still think though it could be done well. That's it. Anyway, but moving on.
You're full of crap.
Z, I believe that there's a drop for that one.
Are we actually?
That is one big pile of shit.
There you go. Thanks.
All right. Anyway, I disagree. But moving on to other news, I believe we do have an image for this. We have Cable.
We do. We got the first look at Cable, and obviously, again, this hasn't been recent. It happened while we were on hiatus, because that's what you do when you have a new show. You do 2 shows, you immediately take a break.
Yep.
Russ
Martin School of Radio.
Yeah, right. But let's take a look at that. Right. I mean, that's a good picture. I mean, I think that's genius.
Yeah.
I mean, they nailed it. They nailed the imagery.
I think where everyone was complaining, about Domino, where it's like, that's not my Domino. It's like, that's everybody's Cable.
That is everybody's Cable. That is very... Ziggy, take a look at that bad boy right there. I mean, you got to admit, that is what everyone's coming to see for Deadpool 2, right?
Yeah, and and I really thought that they were going to have to computer generate a jawline, but they found it.
Nope, they did it. They did. There you go.
Okay, quick question.
I haven't seen a jaw that sexy since Carl Urban and Dredd.
Yeah. Okay, quick question though. Teddy bear, is that an allusion to hope?
You know what? Could be. Yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think that I think they're comfortable enough to kind of want to throw everything in there, even if it's just something for Reynolds to play off for 2 or 3 minutes as a comedic bit. But I think it's absolutely saying, hey, this character, Scott Summers' daughter in the future absolutely exists. We know Cable's a time traveler. We know time travel is going to be a main, or maybe not a main part of it, but certainly a function of this movie. And I can only imagine half the bits running through this is Reynolds talking about the fact that they've really got to fix the continuity in the X-Men movies, right? And so to that point, hats off to Fox for probably going to be picking on themselves for a while about the jacked up continuity that we have in the X-Men universe.
Tell me about it. Never mind. That's too long a conversation.
Yeah.
Punisher. We're going to build up to the Defenders, ladies and gentlemen. Just give us a second. So Punisher.
John, what is it? Bernthal. That's right, John Bernthal.
That's such a great
I know
image.
that's a Quesada given image right there. For I think it was Entertainment Weekly that they did that for, but certainly hands down my favorite Punisher of all time. Granted, and people are like, well, we've only had the one from Thomas Paine. No, we actually had one in the form of Dolph Lundgren.
And then the other guy
that never wore only wore the shirt with the skull on the cover or the poster. And I don't even think it was that. I think it was a black shirt.
Yeah,
right?
I think the closest thing we got to it was on the knife handle.
The way he carried himself and portrayed Frank in Daredevil season 2 was fantastic. You could really see that he had put some thought into the character. Mm-hmm. His scene in the grave, in the gravesite alone.
Oh yeah.
Where he's retelling everything that happened and he's just breaking down. yes, he's methodical in his thinking. He's methodical in the fact that, yes, I want to get to the courts and I want to do this. I want to, find vengeance here. But at the same time, it was really a breakdown of they took everything from this guy and he just doesn't know how to go on other than to take it out on everybody else who he feels deserves it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in the comic time and time again, and it's always been played one way or the other. It's always been played incredibly serious, where he comes off, looking like a jerk. And they've gone the other way, where, it's comedic, right? Probably my favorite run on the Punisher series is still Garth Ennis's run during the late 90s, early 2000s. But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it was that was almost their version of Batman and Robin 1960. Because it was over-the-top deaths. I mean, at one point, I think he kills somebody with a panda during that opening arc at the zoo. I mean, it's just stuff like that where...
Well, he runs over Wolverine with a steamroller after blowing his face off.
With a 12 gauge. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely awesome stuff, and it's funny.
But it's so over the top. Yeah, essentially, you remove any actual...
But great writing. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It was great writing, but it's not one that I want to be there and like, man, I love the drama of that series. There's no drama to it. It was, this is what's going to happen. This is what you want. This is how we picture the Punisher. I mean, we come into the Punisher now with Marvel's soon to be over, latest Secret Empire thing where Cap's evil, and I think this past Wednesday they revealed they went back in the past, and with the Cosmic Cube they got the past Captain America and brought out. I mean, it's just, Marvel. Again, I know that you guys are leading the sales monthly in the comics, and I think this year, again, it's proven that they are going to be the number one top publisher, but doggone it, man, get some... What happened to all your good writing?
Okay, you hold on, because that's a whole conversation I think we can dedicate an entire show to, and let's save that for next episode.
Next what?
Yeah, next episode.
Next shit? Is that what you were just saying?
No, I was going to say next show, but then I was going for episode. So, shepisode. All right. So, for our next shepisode, we are going to discuss Marvel and the writing.
No, we're not. So, anyway, but
I am.
To go back,
you don't have to be here.
Shut up. Shh. Anyway, so to go back to the Punisher itself, the version that we're seeing in the Defenders, I am stoked. I mean, obviously, and I say the Defenders, I meant Netflix. We haven't seen him. We didn't get to see him in the Defenders, which was not a bad thing. They did end cap it with a little quick 30-second, minute-long teaser trailer for the Punisher. Wasn't bad. Fits like it should. We were hearing talk that there are possible other... there's at least one or two additional Marvel heroes that will be appearing in this. One of the hints is to Daredevil, which we'll get to in a minute. The other hint, they're saying possibly Moon Knight.
Nice.
Showing up. I don't know exactly how you play that in the Netflix world that they've kind of created. I could see it.
I would kill if they put him in the suit. Not the superhero suit, but where it's the white
one with the hood.
Yeah, well, not even the white. But what I'm saying,
which sounds really, really clannish.
What I mean is, there's one where he wears, it's like a white business suit, right? It's like a 3-piece suit, all in white, and his mask is just like it's not even a hood. It's just like a face mask with the eyes cut out, and that's it. I would, I think there's a crescent moon on his forehead or on his lapel, something like that. But that I think would be an interesting look instead of the traditional superhero look.
Well, you've got to hand it to Netflix. I mean, outside of Daredevil, I mean they are all about to open to interpretation for these costumes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's a thought, it's a theory. Would I like to see that? Yeah, possibly, absolutely. So,
excellent. All right, we'll see. Then I guess that leaves us with the Defenders. Now, there may be some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, too bad.
We'll try to get this up, right? So we're looking at an image, again, awesome, provided by Entertainment Weekly, which is genius. I think that really represents what we saw here. I'm going to start off with the same thing that I said when we were talking about Iron Fist, I think, show 1. Get off this character. Everyone is, oh my God, Iron Fist was the worst part of this show. I have no idea what is people's problems with this guy. Is it truly a point in time of where we're at, where it's just they're mad because I'm not trying to look for this.
That's not my Iron Fist.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, but it's like, why? I read somewhere where they're like, well, what we're looking at is it's because, it's a rich white man who's trying to do this, and we just don't trust those people right now. Really? Because you're going to go see Batman, rich white guy. I'm like, I don't think that's it, but I also don't know the negativity and the hate towards Finn Jones, who plays the character. Them saying, oh, his acting's constantly bringing it down, blah, blah, blah. First off, I loved Iron Fist. The series, I will say, first 3 episodes took a bit. You had to kind of get through that. But after that, I really enjoyed the show. And everyone else was like, you got to fight through Iron Fist. No, I had to fight through Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones was 4 episodes too long.
Jessica Jones was 10 episodes too long. Jessica Jones, to me, is a secondary character that could have fit into any of the other 3 character stories. If you didn't feel Iron Fist was that long, then throw Jessica Jones in to kind of help with that. Really, though, should have been the opposite way. You shouldn't have introduced Jessica Jones or Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. I felt you should have introduced Jessica Jones into Luke Cage. I'm sorry, I still have yet to finish that series. It is the only Marvel Netflix show that I have no desire, and that's not a knock on the actors, because I thought the acting is great. I think her acting is great. Mm-hmm. I thought the fact that what's his name from Doctor Who.
David Tennant.
I thought he was great as Kilgrave. He was.
Yes.
But there is only so much pointless. So he's mind controlling her and making her do things, and there's probably rape and all this other stuff going on. I don't need to hear that for 9 freaking episodes.
Actually, it was all 12.
All 12, whatever. That should tell you. That should tell you how much I'm just disassociated with the show.
That's an excellent lead into both what I didn't like about Jessica Jones and what I think if it had been shorter it would have been fine. 'Cause, I mean, having him do 1 or 2 things is fine, but it's like they kept having the same situation brought up time and time again. Yeah. And it's like you're just stretching out how almost helpless she's supposed to be. And I get what they're trying to get with the whole PTSD thing.
James Cameron should have been on her for that, as opposed to
James
Gal
Cameron. If you want to be on
for
somebody's
Wonder Woman.
jock about how women are portrayed, try the Jessica Jones show.
Yeah,
if they had cut that 4 episodes shorter, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
But here's that sort of ties into what I have disliked about the Netflix shows from day one, which is that they are, I think, too graphic. Both in the violence and the sex. I know you and I disagree on. Hold on, but let me finish. Rhino Raymond over there.
Just get over it. Come on.
Just say, I think it needs to be toned down to PG-13, like the rest of the Marvel universe is, so that kids can watch it.
Look at your source. Okay, no, dude. Do I have to do this parent thing with you? No, you don't. If it's not that, then your kid shouldn't watch it. And
they're not watching it. But that's my whole point.
I know, but I'm not going to sit here and no. Why?
Why not?
Why?
Why shouldn't they?
But Daredevil's best runs.
Yes. Jessica
Jones is, as created by Bendis. Luke Cage as reimagined during the height, along with Matt Fraction's take on Iron Fist. These are all adult themes that fit into that category. These are not shows for my kid to watch. These are shows for me to watch. Now, do they probably need to tone back a couple things? And I would say, you know what, that's probably just gratuitous for gratuitous sakes. Sure, but show me the show that does not have that. Show me the TV prime time. Buffy is a perfect example.
Okay.
You had a 30-minute show where they got mad because they couldn't show anything. So Josh Whedon's reply to it was, okay, fine. So for 30 minutes of this show, while they try to figure out what's going on, while the Scooby Gang tries to figure out what's going on in the background, we're going to have our 2 main leads screwing for the entire episode. Just to prove a point. I get it. There are times where gratuitous stuff goes too far, and I'm okay with that. I don't think your argument holds here, because this is not something for my daughter. That's up on the big screen. I can take my child to go see, whatever it is, and they'll be okay. No, Daredevil when I want to watch that. Punisher. You think Punisher is going to be a child's show? You want to talk about over-the-top killing that's about to come up?
That's what I'm saying. There's a difference between... Hold on. The Blacklist, I think, is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You can do adult themes. You can do high-level, high-crime, and still not having Luke Cage bang every broad he comes across.
He's only banged 2. 3. Okay, yeah, 3. Well, 3 3/4.
Yeah.
We'll get to that joke in a minute.
And Jessica Jones.
Yeah, but no,
And
I'm sorry. I don't agree with that because the source material that they were looking at dealt with heavy adult themes, and I'm sorry, children are not going to always be able to watch that. If you want to sit there and watch
Episode
something,
2 of Blacklist dealt with child sex slaves.
oh my god,
And they did that on. And they did that on.
You're
I'm
not
just saying.
talking about the same thing, though. You're not talking about the same thing. You are talking about the fact, and so one of the things that we do in the background when we were trying to come up with the shows is we will sometimes purposely go, hey, I'm going to take the negative comment on this and I'm going to run with it and see, that we can spark a reaction. This is one argument that we got into off air as we're getting on to now because I don't agree with your theory.
It's been going on for over a year, by the way.
If kids were meant to watch this crap, then they would gear it towards kids. This is a parental decision that you either sit there and say, okay, cool. As a parent, I know this is for me. I'm not taking my child to go see it because I know that's probably not smart.
Okay, first of all, no one should go see it because it looks like it's terrifying.
You are just afraid of clowns and spiders.
Yes, and the fact that the clown spider exists tells me that there is no justice in this universe.
Ziggy, help me out here, man. I mean, you're getting what I'm saying. Like, if this show's geared for an adult audience, I should not have to worry about there being gratuitous whatever.
So I think that I can see both sides of the argument, but I don't like the compare. I feel that the comparison to the Blacklist specifically is inapt.
Thank you.
Because in just the cultural conscious, we look at superhero geared media as being media that is generally driven towards younger viewers and kids, whereas you don't look at a crime procedural as such. And so I think that if you were trying to make an argument about the equivalent content, I think that what that creates is a discrepancy because there's always going to be people, there's always going to be a bigger pushback when you add adult themes into superhero media because there is this back of the mind thought that, well, obviously kids are going to want to see that more. And that's probably true, is kids are going to want to watch Daredevil more than The Blacklist or Criminal Minds or something like that.
Okay, first of all, it too. Secondly, I think that there's a difference here between what you mean as kids. I think you're envisioning some 6-year-olds sitting down
I'm
watching
not talking
Daredevil.
about 6 years. I know you're talking about
I'm just saying,
that tween age where you're talking anywhere between 11 and 16. I understand that
16 is not a tween.
Whatever,
sir.
I don't care. You know what? There's so many different categories.
I know some very immature 16-year-olds. I'll throw that out there.
There you go.
The show is populated by immature 30-year-old or almost 40-year-olds.
Screw you, man. I'm going to be young forever.
Anyway, age is a state of mind, folks. It's a
Oh
state
no,
of mind.
screw you. It's
my only point is, I think they could do it as a TV 14, and it would
No,
work just
I
as well.
think-
I think it's
no,
lazy
no,
writing, and
that's
it's
not
shocking.
lazy writing.
It's shocking to be shocking.
that is not lazy writing. I'm sorry. It's not shocking to be shocking. I think they're
And hold on, I'm going to take you one step further. In fact, I think it's racist that the first time that we see Luke Cage
as a
in
white
Defenders-
person, you cannot say
I am the
racist.
small. I am part of the smallest Apple group in the world. You can shut up.
Oh my gosh! Do
oppressor,
not. If you're going to go with the
Stop
fact that
oppressing
you've
me.
got red hair, shut up. There are real issues out there with real racism. Don't even bring that up.
I'm just saying, Luke Cage.
No,
First time
shut up.
in
Ziggy, go.
Defenders, he's in prison, and he's screwing.
Because if I've been in prison for 18 months, the first thing I want to do is I want to come out and get some. Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think when we talk about the content specifically with Luke Cage and with Iron Fist, I am all for both of those being more gratuitous because when you look at the original source material, they are drawing from genre film and B movies. And if you have watched like real deal blaxploitation, so I don't have a problem, especially with Luke Cage going back to those roots and drawing from those original movies to create this melded aesthetic that I find very intriguing and
not only,
very true to form.
And not only that, you know what? Because we both know him. Get Khalid on that subject because I guarantee you he's going to feel the same way. And we're talking about. What you're talking about is well, I feel that this is force. No, I'm sorry, man. Not that either one of us have been to prison. I'm not talking about jail, but prison itself is irrelevant. But if I'm there with a bunch of other people and I don't happen to be of that same choice factor, and I would like to see the opposite sex. If I'm Luke Cage, the first thing I'm doing is coming back out and going, yes, I want to get some coffee. Especially if that coffee looks like Rosario Dawson. Sorry. Abso-freaking-lutely. But that's not your beef of it being, well, I want my children to watch it. Well, they can't have everything. I'm sorry. And what you should have done was you should have compared apples to apples. What you should have said is, look at the movies that are out there. Right. Well, I feel it should be this or this or this, but comparable to other comic book things. Because
it should be like the rest of the movies, where it says
really you feel that
universe.
you feel that with Dredd. You think that the Dredd movie should have been PG-13, and I'm not talking about Sylvester Stallone's. I'm talking about Dredd. You feel The Crow would have been better service as a PG-13 movie?
Hold on. Is Crow going and having coffee with Captain America on the side that I don't know about? Is Judge Dredd hanging out with Luke Skywalker? Because here's the thing. Hold on. The entire point is that the Marvel universe is a contiguous universe in which you have
that they don't even acknowledge each other. You can't even get them to play ball, other than a couple of background drops. Oh, how do we know this exists in the Avengers world? Because every once in a while, Tony Stark's name's thrown around. Every once in a while, we revert back to
the event.
The event, right? I mean, no, that's crap. I'm sorry, dude. Your theory on that is crap because you want to be able to watch that with your child, which I respect. That part I absolutely get because I would love to sit down and watch The Defenders with my daughter. You're absolutely right. But I know it's going to be a few years. I would love for her to watch the Daredevil seasons because they were excellent in execution to me. But as she gets older and more mature, your theory on this is more about the fact that you cannot watch it with your kid, with your son. I respect that. But don't sit there and blame the writers for, oh, well, I feel that's lazy writing, just because you may not agree with how that comes out. That's not on them, especially when you've got things like the numbers that are coming out, which are dead stack against you. You have things where it's actually relevant to the show. I'm sorry. The things that they've shown in the show so far have always served the purpose of the plot.
Well, Ziggy has a point.
I also want to point out that the numbers don't necessarily mean it wasn't lazy writing.
If that's a Transformers crack, well done, sir.
Just throwing that out.
Fair enough.
But, all right. Well, hold on. We've complained. We've had this argument, and we're never going to resolve this argument.
Well, we're never going to agree on this argument because I think to me, whether it's justified or
wrap
not.
Wrap up your argument, and we'll move on.
Well, shut up. I'm going to have my argument for another 20 minutes.
Hold on a minute while I pull that out of my ass.
Thank you. So the point is, you've got to understand. No, I don't want to say it that way. Nah, screw it. Let's say it that way. You've got to understand that I think your argument is more about the fact that you cannot sit down and watch this with your family as growing up and wanting to have that experience because those are characters that you like. I respect that. I do. But don't blame it on them. I'm sorry, dude. I thought one of the most graphic scenes in anything I've seen, and this includes The Walking Dead, mind you, was the fact that in season 1 with the Kingpin, when they introduce him, he's literally decapitating someone with a car door. But as I sat there and thought about it, that scene served the purpose to show what kind of person he really was. And I loved how it played out. Did I need to see it? No. But did it help build that character? Yes, it did. You can't tell me it didn't. So for that, I'm sorry. I get that. And I don't think that's lazy writing. I do think some of it is shock value. That's fine. I will grant you that. But to sit there and say, well, I can't believe they're doing this or this, you're never going to get me to see that side of that. You just won't.
Which is fair. And again, my point would be, I don't mind that I can't sit down and watch Dredd with any of the kids for another 10 years. That doesn't bother me. Like The Walking Dead, they're not going to be watching that for a while. I get all of that. That doesn't bother me. The thing is, these are properties that connect to a broader universe that they like. Hold on. And there was a decision made to make them more graphic than they needed to be. I think you could still play out that same scene and not have it be as graphic, but still get the exact same point across and do it the exact same way. You can still have them decapitate the dude with the car door. You just do it a little bit differently. My only point is I don't like the fact that they chose to omit it while trying to say, hey, we're going for more adult themes. That's fine. I just think that they could have made a different choice. Say, hey, we still want to be a little bit more mature, but at the same point, we can still make it accessible to the broader audience to include more people. That's all I'm saying is they are deliberately going another way to omit a factor that or a group of people that I think would love to have watched this. I think, and you know what? I'll even say this. I think Jessica Jones would have been better if they could have had kids watching it. I think there were some legit. Hold on, I'm gonna say as much as I don't. Like you said, the acting and the writing was good. The problem was it was too long. I think there were some points about Jessica Jones that I think could be that I think a 14-year-old girl would find both empowering and
I'm so glad that
beneficial.
I'm so glad as a 14-year-old girl you found it empowering. That's really
Hey, I spent 5 years as a 14-year-old girl. Now, but let's actually talk about the Defenders itself instead of the universe in general.
So going into the Defenders, right? I loved how it bounced around. I'm gonna try to keep my part of this spoiler free. I love how they bounced
I'm
around.
going to spoil the whole
you're not.
damn
Shut
series
up.
for every one of you.
It jumped around, giving us character, and it's like catching up on where everyone left off. Seeing Matt Murdock trying to put away the costume was good. I think it was needed. I think it showed that he was really having a struggle with it. Jessica Jones still very much. I mean, I think her opening up in a bar and drinking and stuff. These are appropriate scenes because it's like, yeah, it's true to character. Iron Fist still trying to hunt down, which I think is the opening scene.
Yeah,
trying to still hunt down,
hand.
part of the hand and seeing what we later come to find out is Elektra for the first time since her death on season 2 of Daredevil. All this stuff was great. Luke Cage, again, would be the first thing I would do coming out of prison and absolutely, going to Rosario Dawson's character and just, knocking it out the park, if you will. I think those are all valid scenes to not just show everyone that, hey, we recognize the source material that just came before us and now we're trying to set up this feel for it. I love the interaction between the characters. I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that everyone picked on everyone else, as you see in some of the teaser trailers with it, where they're going around the table in the restaurant, where he was like, we got someone with unbreakable skin, a blind lawyer, whatever it is, the hell that you do, pointing to Jessica Jones. But I also love the fact that they were picking on each other. I mean, there was a sense of, with Matt Murdock and, oh my God, I just forgot Iron Fist is Danny Rand. Sorry.
Rand.
But with that interaction with them being more like a brother thing, and you see the interaction with Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock, which was, if you want to talk about something that made her character stand out, which I really loved, was the fact that she took time to find out why Matt was like this.
Yeah.
I love that. And it was so subtle, and it was just at a point where there was no need for it, but it was just to prove to him there are actually people that care, and I do understand why you're doing it. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that you had the interaction between Luke Cage and Danny, where it's very much a friendly back and forth between them.
Which it should be.
Yeah, which it should be, right? Because you're hoping for a Heroes for Hire type event.
I really want that.
And it's just I thought everything gelled well. I love the fact that the whole thing was like, come on, man, you had to kill a dragon?
Yeah.
You're full of crap. That was like, there's no way you had to kill a dragon.
I am the immortal Iron Fist.
Yes.
You're the what?
Yeah, what? Yeah, it's just the whole thing, the back and forth between them. I loved how everyone fit in. And to that point, they really didn't touch too much on a Matt and Luke relationship. And I think that was a good call because it was just an immediate, they just almost had an immediate respect for one another.
Yeah.
It was like, I understand what you do, you understand what I do, we're good. We don't have to go any further than that because I already respect you guys, and that's their relationship. I thought that was a good place. So the writing on it, this is the first Netflix show outside of Daredevil season 2, and I think that was just because of The Punisher. It's the first Netflix show with all of them that I felt was too short. I actually could have gone 2 more episodes with this.
You know what? I would agree. I think we could have gone just a little bit longer to explore 1 or 2 more things. I think for me, Jessica Jones, her favorite scene, or my favorite scene with her, is when she walks over to Matt Murdock, who's still got her scarf on, and she's like, look, I get that you're the devil of Hell's Kitchen, and those two yahoos over there are about 30 seconds from
figuring it out. Yeah,
it's
like you're not slick.
Yeah, it's. I don't think you understand where you're at on this. I do like the fact that they showed her as a detective. She was smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
They allowed her to shine.
This was the first time I've liked the character of Jessica Jones in this format.
Well, she wasn't being a victim. I mean, and I think
That's absolutely
that's
right.
the problem with her entire first season
Absolutely
is
right.
they play the entire time as her being a victim versus overcoming. But you know what? Here's where I'm gonna. And I loved everything. I liked the Iron Fist series. You and I have agreed on that. I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get. But here's the one thing I'm going to say, and I think maybe this gets at the heart of what everyone was complaining about with Danny Rand. They turned Danny Rand into a copy of Daredevil as far as how he behaves in his series, right? Because when we first meet him, he's almost a hippie, right? He's walking around. He doesn't care about material objects. That's the Danny Rand I think we all know. It's, it's namaste, and he's just, being whatever. He doesn't care about the material stuff. But then it's like he starts trying to take it over. It's like when he gets serious, that's when it's like, I am the immortal Iron Fist. That's when he sort of comes off as...
I'm not... I will say this. They've got to back off the Incredible Hulk Iron Fist moment. That's never how it was portrayed, so I'm not a fan of that.
Right. And what I'm saying is I think this is where he didn't really... His personality didn't add anything to the group. If they had left Danny Rand's personality be sort of what we saw in the first 2 or 3 episodes, where he's not naive, he's optimistic. He's more hopeful. He has a brighter view of the world. But if they had changed the story where he is very much going after the Hand, and I even say Stick goes to Kun Lung and says, look, I need him to come help us. I think they would have changed a tone, and then when by the time you get to the Defenders, he's still that sort of happy-go-lucky person who understands the weight of his stuff. He isn't just a clone of Matt Murdock being over there going, well, my name's Matt and I'm a superhero in recovery. He seemed to...
That's superhero AA?
It's superhero AA. He seemed like a clone of Daredevil, and so his personality didn't bring anything. You have Luke Cage, which I think everyone brought something new, except Danny, who was just sort of a different version of Daredevil.
But I will say that, though. That's also why I liked their interaction between each other, because you have Matt talking to him, and I think that's when he realized for the first time in this series, right?
Right.
Is that he's like, you know what? I got to get off the fence. Because he's always on the fence, man. I'm a spoiled child who doesn't quite know where my place in this world is. No, I'm not. I'm this immortal, protector of all people, of everyone's virginity. He comes off that way sometimes, but at the same time, though, I think that time with Matt, where Matt's basically like, look, I get it. You're the immortal Iron Fist. Ooh, guess what? I'm still gonna kick your ass. And I love that scene where he's all like, because in theory, he's Danny's the strongest one out of all of them.
Yeah.
In theory. And for Matt just to hand it to him, is like, no, you're not. I really do respect the fact that you know what you're doing. And I respect the fact that you have these thoughts and ideas. But no, absolutely not. I can still put you through whatever it is, and I mean, because Matt's a grown up, and I think that's where the hardest spot for what they try to do with Danny is they try to sit there and say, well, his childhood was taken away. That's why he's still kind of stuck in that immaturity as he's trying to find himself. Now, if you bring me that same Iron Fist in season 2, then I'm going to be a little upset, because season 2, Danny needs to be ready to go. He needs to understand his place, and he does not need to have the, I'm so depressed, I don't know who I am. No, he needs to be like, I know exactly who I am. I know what I have to do, and I am looking at my friends who I've made on this to now understand that I don't have to do this, alone. I don't have to feel sorry for myself, because I can do this, and I can carry forward with, how it ends. I'm trying to figure out not to spoil this, but he can carry forward going on with what he was shown. If they give me that Danny Rand in there, then that's closer to the Matt Fraction Danny Rand we see
Right.
in his series in the comic books, which is still one of my favorite runs
I
of
agree.
Iron Fist. So, and you see that they were trying to draw inspiration from that series, but they left out that particular part where Danny very much knows who he is and what he has to do.
I think
that confident.
I think season 2, he almost needs to become the Tony Stark of the series. And what I mean by that is,
I know what you're saying.
he goes basically. He goes and said, he goes to Luke Cage. He goes to Jessica Jones and says, "Look, I know what y'all are doing. Let me help y'all out." Because, again, spoilers. His mission is fundamentally over by the end of the Defenders.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's like
Absolutely.
whatever mission he had, it's
which I love because Matt knew it.
yeah.
Matt knew, like at the I don't want to spoil this, but Matt knew that after this was going to be done, Danny's got to change his focus.
Yeah.
He has to change his focus. For everyone else, it was simple. You know that Jessica Jones is going to continue as the great detective that she is, which is shown in the series, like you said, and you know that Cage is going to go back into Harlem to
Be the hero of Harlem,
yeah, absolutely.
fighting the power.
And so with Daredevil, on how they ended that with him, Ziggy, did you see the Defenders? You haven't? So are we kind of killing this for you, man? Ziggy's like, I ask you. But how this ends with the possibility of us seeing an adaptation in season 3 of Born Again for Daredevil, down to a comic picture scene pulled directly from the Born Again series, I was like, holy crap. Like, just when I thought Daredevil season 2 was great, you introduced, like, how can they possibly do this? We're going to adapt Born Again. And it was just like, oh my gosh, that is freaking awesome. And that's, of all the closed endings they were going through,
Yeah.
that image of him in the hospital, in the church in the bed with the nuns, I was like, you guys have got me so stoked for season 3 now, because like I don't know what you're gonna do, but doggone it, you got my vote.
You got me.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. Is I think what we could do is have Luke Cage goes back to being the hero for hire, right? And I think even have Danny join up. I think that would be
absolutely.
But it basically it's like, look, we're heroes for hire, but you don't pay us. I got that.
yeah,
You know, Danny Rand has paid Jessica and Luke.
yeah. Look, yep.
It's like y'all find whoever you want to help and go help them.
Yeah, I'll sponsor it.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that'd be instead of we already know we're getting a Luke Cage season 2, and if anyone has even looked,
well, everyone's got it.
oh yeah, but what I'm saying is, but we already know that Misty Knight gets her robot arm in season 2. They've already
Yeah.
released the images of that, so there's
Yep.
no big spoiler there unless you've been hiding under a rock. And again, I told you I was going to spoil it for you, so shut up. So I mean, there's a lot of good things to look forward to, and I think
there is.
and again, they need to figure out that they can't bring back the hand anymore. None of this, oh, well, there's still some remnants of the hand running around. No. At this point, you're just cleaning up corruption in the city. Let Danny do that. Make Iron Fist season 2 Heroes for Hire.
You either do that or you make Iron Fist season 2 trying to find out what happened in Kunlun. I mean, is it really gone? Is it not really gone? Obviously,
Because they kept talking about it was gone. Like, they killed everybody.
But obviously, we also know that there are portals. There are now
Right.
other portals, so we know that that's not necessarily the truth.
Maybe he goes and hangs out with Howard the Duck.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. You're killing me, Smalls. All right, so
Okay.
glowing reviews for the Defenders.
Excellent. Okay, favorite scene for me, it made the entire show, and I'm going to be as vague about this as I can, is the Lao show reveal. The image on Danny's chest is a depiction of Lao Shou, I believe is his name, right? The dragon.
Yeah.
But it's one very specific dragon is actually what it's representing.
Right.
You get to see that dragon and why his that image looks the way it does.
Yeah.
And that reveal
Yeah.
alone is worth the entire series.
Is it Shenron?
No, this was
It's subtle. The reveal of it is subtle. You see it.
and it takes you a second to realize what you're looking at.
It does, because it's not a scene that's forced. They're just trying. It's on a pullout. It's on a pullout scene. They're coming away from it, and you realize, oh, holy crap! That's what happened. And I mean, it's one of those things where you just wanted Luke to go and kind of see it, so that he could be like, oh hell, you weren't lying at all, were you?
Yeah.
I mean, it was that. So, and again, that's where I go with. There are other portals. So you're right. That is a good scene, and it is very, very low. It's low key, but it's not low key. I think if you're a fan of the imagery, if you're a fan of comics, you immediately know, holy crap, that's that. I think my favorite scene has to be the final shot.
Yeah.
Just seeing Matt in the bed, all bandaged up, and I mean it's
With the nuns, yeah.
yeah. I think it's a beautiful homage to the Born Again storyline, and I am spoilers. I'm going to tell you right now, spoilers. So much of that was pulled from that one scene in the comic that even as they're zooming out to see Matt in there, you hear the other nun sit there and go, "He's waking up. Go get Maggie." And for those who don't know, Maggie's his mom.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, oh my God, it was such a fanboy moment for me that's still hands down my favorite scene. And good, right? That should
absolutely.
end on a scene that I want to see absolutely more. And like I said, I would still want that scene to be the last scene, even if they had another 2 episodes in them. But that by far, and there's a lot of stuff that's in here. The only thing I will say that's getting, I still enjoy it very much, but they still all want to go back to that scene. And I don't know about Jessica Jones if they did it, but certainly that season 1 Daredevil scene of the hallway fight.
Yeah, they do.
It has gone into Luke Cage now. It's gone into Iron Fist, and it has gone into the Defenders. And while it feels like, okay, guys, stop it with that, it's still very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
As they're taking down the boardroom. So,
Well, I don't know. I think, heck, I don't want them to stop that. Because it's a good fight scene.
it is a good fight.
Now again, my only problem is the Punisher version of that's going to be him with a.
It's going to be a quick scene.
Yeah, it's just going to be him with a Gatling gun. Just
turn it down. But I can't wait to see it. Again, the Punisher, everything. Ah, man, I'm absolutely looking forward to Defenders 2. If there's not I will be more pissed off if there's not a season 2 of the Defenders, because that's one thing that everyone's talking about. Obviously, you have to, right? You have to say Defenders is into phase 1 for Netflix. Yeah. Let's go into phase 2, include some more people, but then definitely have a follow up to the Defenders. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
Okay, I have one more comment about the Defenders, but I'm going to hold it for the next hour, and you'll know why here in a second. Star Wars. Let's make this quick. Is there anything new on Star Wars that you want to talk about?
So we got new images of both
Luke and Ray.
Mark Hamill as Luke. I love this image.
Yeah.
I love this image. This image of Luke right now that we're getting is just intimidating. I mean, for the first time, I think you look at him and you realize, yeah, he's his father's son. Because it's just foreboding.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say about that. That is just a great shot. And, we get a new picture, a new look at Rey, who, she's very much in a stance of she's ready to take on anything that the First Order is going to throw at her. I absolutely feel this is, our empire of the series, not just because it's the middle one, but absolutely because it's definitely going to
set us up for that.
Yes, set us up for something a little bit darker this episode. I cannot wait for it. I think the biggest Star Wars reveal for me had to be we've been teased with it for a while, but a Star Wars story is coming on Obi-Wan.
Yes.
I am so looking forward to seeing a McGregor-led
old Obi-Wan.
I just not old, but just definitely. I would say that would be Obi-Wan in his prime.
Okay.
Right. I definitely want to see that.
Maybe a few years after the fall
of
the Jedi.
I'm not sold necessarily on Han Solo, not because of any of the background information or the switch of directors or anything. I'm just like, you know what? I think that, you know, Harrison Ford and the portrayal of it during the original trilogy was great. So, I mean, it's not that I'm not going to go see that movie. I'm just not as stoked for it as I am an Obi-Wan movie.
Because it's like, what are you going to tell us? He was a smuggler?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, what's the big reveal there?
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm pretty sure I'll come out of that one, you know, feeling great. I said the same thing about Rogue One. Who the hell needs one about the Death Star plans and being stole? But yet, by the end of that movie, I'm like, oh my God, this is
Almost
it's just as good as Empire, maybe
even better,
maybe a tad bit better. And they gave us a Darth Vader who was the stuff of nightmares as he's tearing through. So I don't know. I could say that about Han Solo. I just don't think I'm going to be saying that.
No,
about
I
Han
get you.
Solo.
I get you. One thing I will say though is they're not going to get to do the Obi-Wan story I wanted them to do because they've already done it in Rebels.
Yeah.
With Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. And I actually went back and rewatched that episode. And the thing that I love about it is it explains, because I was watching one thing, or reading something, and they're talking about how Darth Vader was holding back when he faced Obi-Wan on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And that's why Obi-Wan was, they're still good at it. It's like, no, you got this whole thing wrong. I think it goes back to people not understanding sword fighting. What you see in Rebels, I think, absolutely set up why they were fighting the way they were fighting on the Death Star. And what I mean by that is this. For those of you who haven't seen it, Darth Maul, the climax of this episode is, in fact, almost the entire season has been, we know that Obi-Wan and Darth Maul are going to have it out one last time. And the entire episode is this leading up to this fight scene. And there's a conversation, and then finally Obi-Wan is like, all right, I have to kill you now. And Darth Maul pops out his new double-bladed lightsaber. He's going all, Cirque du Soleil with it. And Obi-Wan starts off with sort of the same sort of pose he had in Episode 1, but then he stops and changes it to what it was in when he faces off against Vader. And what happens is it's a 3-strike thing. He blocks. Obi-Wan just ends up blocking Maul twice, and then comes straight down, cuts his lightsaber in half, and basically just opens him up like a trout. And that's it. It was pop, pop, done. And he falls down, and he looks up at Obi-Wan. He's like, "Is it the chosen one?" And he says, "It is." He goes, "Then he'll avenge us all." Because at that point, Maul's been a very broken character. But it showed that, and this goes back to the theory that I've had for years, which is that lightsabers are actually very difficult to wield. And the reason you see all these acrobatics in the first, or in the prequels, is because they are simply trying to maintain the momentum. The lightsaber isn't something that's light and easy to move. It's actually difficult to move. And what you're doing is you're maintaining momentum. That's why you're doing all this spinning. It's just an easier way of handling it. But that Obi-Wan is at such a level where he doesn't need to. He actually, even though he's physically weaker, he's better and faster, and he's able to just cut him down. You're right. The Darth Vader that we see at the end of Rogue One is an absolute nightmare, and he should be. But all he was doing was being flashy to intimidate the guys. To actually absolutely intimidate them. When he goes up against Obi-Wan, he's like, okay, I need to step up to my A game. And so he goes to something that they've even explored in Rebels, that Anakin had developed a very short, very controlled style during the war, particularly to deal with all this blaster fire coming in. And that's what they're using. The reason it's just, they sort of go pop, pop, and they come back is they realize, okay, that's not going to work. Right, they're at such a level where, because a true master, when they fight, if you've ever seen genuine masters fighting,
I watch Jedi Masters fight all the time.
I'm talking about in martial arts. If you've ever seen a genuine martial arts master or sword fighter fight, there's one or two moves and that's it. So I think that's what you are not a master, Ziggy. Shut up.
Well, no, a couple of months ago, they had. I watch NHK World, which is kind of like the Japanese BBC,
yes,
to get Southeast Asian news, but they also do sports news. And so they showed clips of the World Kendo Championships, and it was the finals. And just watching that, it is fascinating how quickly a match goes, because it's just like fencing where they play to points, but an actual round will last 10 seconds tops, because there's such an economy of movement that within 3 seconds someone can win a point. It's just that rapid, and the way that they tighten and try to make themselves smaller while also presenting that forward threat is just fascinating to watch, and it's very intense. And so what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's economy of movement. And so maybe the movie can explore how he develops that a little bit, but it's like we're just not going to see that fight between Maul and, because we've already seen it. That's my only complaint.
I mean, obviously we'll see something. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay. You know what?
We're at our halfway point.
Yeah, and I have 4 questions for you, sir.
Oh, we're gonna do 4 questions. All right.
Ziggy?
Do we have a timer?
Okay, so September 1st was just the other day. Yesterday, actually. And so now we cannot text and drive. Your thoughts?
We're going to see lower accidents on the highway and increased road rage at red lights because you can text while at a red light. I can already see this playing out. Not going to be good. Go to the next one, man.
We can also now carry swords and daggers.
Either pointless, man. Yay.
Okay. Melania Trump got a lot of flack for wearing high heels to go to Air Force One.
Stop right there, because I already know where you're going with this. I love the fact that I'll tell you what. Finish the question, but I've got an answer for you.
Okay. Should Trump be thrown out because he allowed his wife to wear shoes?
I love the fact that we had enough freaking time while we're dealing with a natural disaster to point at someone's footwear, as opposed to, hey, how about we help? The one thing that irritates me with all media as they're sitting there talking about all this peril going on in the background is I never see someone from the media go, with the exception of a couple times, you know what? Why don't we try to help some of these people that we're videoing in the background? Care about something else. I'm not caring about the First Lady's footwear. Next question. Last question.
Last question.
What do you wait until this runs out? Come on, man.
No. How beautiful do you think Ziggy is today?
My last question. Oh, he just did the little flat. I mean, that's one sexy man beast. I got nothing.
All right, then.
He's pretty beautiful, man.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I'd like to point out, though, you didn't answer whether or not you thought Trump should be arrested for allowing his wife to walk around in high heels.
Because it's a stupid question.
Your stupid question.
I'm not saying your question was stupid.
I know.
I'm saying it's a stupid
question. The fact that we even have to have this as a
just
conversation
stupid.
is insane. Yeah. Okay. Well, that being said, we have some news before we get into DC. Star Trek Discovery finally gave us some, something new to go off of and to look at. We now know that the main character is actually the first officer, and that she is.
Well, we've known that. We've known about the first character being number one.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that sort of the big reveal is that she's related to Spock.
Yeah. It looks like she's a half sister to Spock, or an adopted sister to Spock. Same father, but she's completely human. So I don't know if they've said that they're going to touch on this with the possible fact of her being adopted. But so far we know that she'll be the first human to have been admitted and gone through and passed the Vulcan school of training. We know this is 10 years prior to the events of the Enterprise, with Kirk and everyone else. One of the things I'm still trying to figure out why they did it this way was, why didn't they tie it into the Kelvin universe? And for those of you guys who are like, what in the hell are you talking about? Kelvin universe, Kelvin timeline is the timeline that was set by Abrams on the new trilogy of Star Wars movies, right? So
Star Trek, by the way.
Star Trek movies. What did I say? Star Wars? We just got off Star Wars. That's my fault. Sorry. So Star Trek movies, so we know that there's this different timeline that we're experiencing. Why not pull Discovery into the series? Because it's already looks and is made in such a manner and in such a way that it already feels like it's part of it.
Yeah.
Certainly we got. I was going to say, and certainly we've got some lens flare issues already. Thank you, Abrams. But I mean, why not do that? You know, and they've come out and explicitly said, no, this is to the original series. They also said that in reference to her being a sister of Spock, that they are going to explain it within that continuity of why we've never heard about her before from Spock. Which all that means to me is that Spock's father was a whore.
Well, she's adopted. She's fully human, so clearly Sarek wasn't going around.
That's what you think.
All right. Anyway, you know what? I really wanted to be excited about this, but it's like the more I keep seeing of them, the more boring it seems to be. It's like I don't know that they know what they're doing with this.
I don't know. I will tell you one thing. I'm going to touch on this briefly.
And I do hate criticizing something before I've actually had a chance to see it, but it does look like it's a mess.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what you're seeing. Maybe I'm not seeing the same stuff. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But I mean,
I've looked at the Klingons. Have you not looked at the Klingons?
So we have a little bit of a change in the Klingon.
Well, I mean, no, the change is fine, and like I said, it actually matches up more with the Kelvin version of the Klingons anyway. But I mean, their costuming. I mean, it looks like someone.
I think you're nitpicking, man. Like nitpick. Look, as much as I just nitpicked on Jessica Jones, I did give it a chance, and I did try to watch it. So
I'm not saying I'm going to give it a chance. I'm just saying I'm not. This one just doesn't seem.
No,
like
I will say this. I am not a fan of CBS showing the first episode on CBS and then going, the rest of this is going to be on our paid streaming service. Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, come on. You know, at least do me a solid. Throw it on Netflix. Throw it on Hulu, something that's already established. I know we're all trying to cut the cord and get away from cable and try to find a better way to watch TV, which I feel I am a big fan of the theory of that cable and satellite and those things will start to go away as we really start to increase and pick up on the internet and what we can and don't have to watch. Right,
exactly.
But it's come on, give it to me on a regular basis.
That is one big pile of shit.
That's exactly right.
Exactly what
That's
it is.
exactly right.
And you know what, Disney, this goes for you too, trying to create your own streaming service.
Yeah, my God.
Just either buy out Netflix or stick with Netflix. Don't create. I don't want to have to go and buy Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime, which is a topic. Amazon Prime is where we're about to go right now. But it's don't do that. Just don't. There's no reason for this. If CBS wants to say, hey, we're going to put it on our show, but then we're going to have a non-paid, so you still put out ad, just do it on ads. Then that's fine. You want to, but just don't make me have to buy 12 different things. Now I'm having to choose whether or not I want to watch you because I have to pay for you. I'm just saying, you're right. Put it on Netflix, put it on Amazon, do something, but just don't make it pay.
I know. I do know that Netflix is drastically trying to go back to Disney, going, okay, we'll give you the rest of your shows, but give us your Star Wars and give us your Marvel, and we'll be fine with you guys leaving us. Genius ploy, but I don't think Disney's not stupid enough to go, we're not going to leave you with our two big cash cows. Sorry. That's the entire reason we want to do this way. Most of us are nerds, so we've probably already got it.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
So it's just they've already made the agreements for stuff like the Defenders and everything else, so that's not going to go anywhere. But certainly, I could see that being a big hindrance.
Yep. Okay. DC, ton of stuff came out this.
Jeez, man, good, bad, and indifferent with DC.
Okay.
What do you want to lead off with?
Okay. I think we all know about the trouble that, or let me rephrase this: all of the reshoots, all of the edits, and all the Justice League is going through.
So
can we all agree that Rogue One went through the same stuff and it came out fine?
Came out great.
They came out great. That's
Came out
what I'm saying.
great.
Let's not just because it's going through reshoots. So did Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad ended up pretty okay.
I love how you said that. Pretty okay.
There were elements of Suicide Squad that could have been much better.
I had a friend that watched it.
Justice League or Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad.
Okay.
And it was we're talking about it, and the point he made with Suicide Squad was this. He's watching it again, and he's watched it again, and he was one that came out of Suicide Squad going, but with the repeat viewings that he's seen, he was like, I like this movie more and more.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not a fan of the trash ball in the sky that every movie... every major tentpole movie decided to follow for some reason in a 5-year span where something had to be circling in the sky for them to take out. But it's just
That's actually because of the effects houses that they use. A lot of the movies that have that use the same effects house, and so some of that is to save time because they already have at least a template rendered, and they just change elements of that template.
Go ahead and spend the extra $2 million to render something new. I mean, I know that's asking a lot, but I'm just saying. But again, it was like, very character driven and stuff of that nature. So I liked it. I mean, when I saw it, I liked it. I know you liked it.
Christy liked it.
Yeah, there's a critic right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The past 3 weeks, it's been everybody. Which, by the way, we're showing you guys right now the poster that's inspired by an Alex Ross poster from way back in the '90s that they did as the new poster for the upcoming Justice League movie. And I'll go into some depth because I always loved when Alex Ross did it originally, and one of the things that he said was this was based off of one of the Queen albums. Yeah. And everyone's standing in for that place. But I love the fact, and the creator of this poster absolutely said, he was like, we saw that. He goes, I always said that if I got to do that, I wanted to follow this format that Ross had created. So I love that picture. But what are we seeing? What are we hearing? In the past 3 weeks, it's been, there were massive reshoots. The ending's completely changed. They don't know, what's going on. They've changed some of the stuff for the character. Then a week later, so there hasn't been a lot of reshoots. It's been very minimum reshoots, and it's just to keep into tone with that. But to explain or to, realign some of the stuff that Whedon went in and changed. One thing that both sides are saying is it does look like we're going to get a different ending. It may be that, the character of Lex is cut from the movie. Yeah. And all that having to do with the possibility that the movie might have ended with a straight into Darkseid. And so, Whedon was like, hey, I don't necessarily feel that we want to go into something that's that heavy with it, so let's get that and let's make this movie its own thing, which is smart because if you have Darkseid at the end of the movie and then you have Marvel coming up with Thanos here in May, it's just Thanos. It's gonna look. Don't be making fun of my language, you zombie. Anyway. If you're going to have that, it's going to look like it's copycat. And what a lot of the major public doesn't know is that Darkseid came first.
Yeah. Thanos is actually
a response to Darkseid. Yeah. It's like, but because you have the movie-going audience, they would never see that.
It's because DC has screwed up these properties from Word 1. They've never understood what they had.
Yeah. Well, Warner Brothers, not DC.
Warner Brothers. Yeah, Warner Brothers. I'm sorry. At least the movie house. I haven't seen the new Batman versus Harley Quinn animated thing that came out, but a lot of people aren't liking it. But we'll talk about that later when it actually comes out.
It's out. Isn't it out already? I think it just came out. Yeah, it just dropped like a week ago.
Titans. We finally have some casting.
We've got some casting. Who do we have lined up?
Tegan Croft is Raven. Anna Diop is Starfire. Britton Thwaites is Nightwing.
So this is him now.
Berlanti is also producing.
Yeah, Jeff Johns and Berlanti are producing, and this cat just came off of Pirates of the Caribbean was his last.
I think that was him. Yeah.
The last one, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Yes. Actually, not bad. I liked it.
Good. I don't. First off, I'm getting a Titans show.
Yeah.
Produced by Berlanti and Johns, who are the masterminds behind Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow,
the upcoming Black
Supergirl,
Lightning.
Upcoming Black Lightning. I'm ecstatic for this show. I'm happy to have seen it being developed. What does that look like? I don't know. I hope everything is good to go, but I cannot wait. Also, on a DC-only streaming service.
I know.
So...
Okay, without rehashing that whole thing, I'm not excited for Krypton at all.
I don't even acknowledge Krypton. That's the one by
sci-fi. Here's my thing though. is this going to be this is supposed to be a completely different universe as well? So it's not even in the movie universe. It's not in the Berlanti universe. It's going to be.
I don't know. They haven't said.
Okay.
They have not said yet.
How do you get a Nightwing without Batman? That's my thing.
Well, I think you acknowledge Batman. I mean, that's the whole thing. And one of the things that they've said is
So
this is
they
this,
can't be in the Arrowverse.
This is very well. You're probably right on that, but I'm okay with that, and we're going to get to this here in a minute as well, especially with the movies.
Which is exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, but I love the fact that we have Nightwing available now, and one of the things they've said is so far how they see the Titan series going is the break from Batman, and we may actually even still see the Robin costume, as he hasn't made the complete change. But they think by the middle of the series, we'll see the transformation into Nightwing, where he actually takes over the group to go ahead and have that growth in there. We still have a lot of things. I think, for instance, like going back to Justice League, they're still trying to figure out and flesh out their character, so much so that one of the bigger rumors for Justice League is that at some point during that movie, a Green Lantern will show up, which I'll get to in a minute as well. But to see Titans develop the way it's developing, to see them go through and say, hey, we are going to show you Nightwing for the first time. As long as they're taking their time, and I have a lot of faith in Johns and Berlanti, that I'm going to, doggone it, I will pay whatever DC streaming's going to be costing me just to see the Titans. If not, I'm going to have to get this thing on Blu-ray when it comes out. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Either way, we'll watch it at your house. Green Lantern and Justice League, and then we'll move on to what I think is going to be the thing that we're going to be arguing about. So Green Lantern and Justice League.
Green Lantern, that's the rumor, right? That he will be premiering. We got a picture up showing the Hal Jordan comic book version.
And I cannot wait for that album to drop. That looks like it's going to be fire.
Yeah. So we're we're seeing this, and who do you want? Ziggy, I'm going to ask you. Actually, I'm going to give you the.
Please.
Which Green Lantern version do you want?
I want the older Green Lantern from the second season of Justice League Unlimited, I think. And I want Jimon Honsu. I think that he would be really good. I think that would be an interesting casting decision.
That would be a twist, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know what? Actually, he kind of stole a thought I'd had years ago, which is if you want to have, it's like to both bring some needed diversity to the Justice League, you still have it be Hal Jordan. But you make Hal Jordan. You combine all the characters. You make Hal Jordan black, but make him older so he has the little white around his ears. But if you want to go with what's his name, John Stewart version, that would work too. But again, I like the idea of making him older. I've always thought the Green Lantern and Green Arrow should always be the older characters of the group. They're the ones who have the most years under their belt doing what they do.
Now, I think that would be an interesting casting decision, is if you just grab John Stewart and put him in the Green Lantern costume. I think that would be very enjoyable.
Yeah. I don't
know that I want to see a Green Lantern in stonewashed jeans.
No love for Guy Gardner? Redheaded Green Lantern?
If I ever did a Guy Gardner, he would be explained the same way that I think he really should be explained. He is the wet works for the Green Lanterns.
Well, because I tell you right now, so far how they've explained Gardner in the comics, not of late, but how they started him was just they managed to find the world's greatest redneck and just throw on a costume for him, because every time someone portrayed him, there are times when I was reading the comics where I'm just like, the voice in my head is like, we're going to go get that gator over there with that ring, and we're going to sit there and we're going to save the universe.
Yeah.
Who's with me? And it didn't help that they put him in originally. The chili bowl. It's like, oh my gosh.
See, that's actually how I would have explained the Black Lanterns. Like, there's not
by chili bowl.
Yeah, no, it's not people bringing them back from the dead. Basically, it's the Green Lantern Corps is like, okay, look, we have the Green Lantern. They're the public face. but we have a group.
Yeah.
We have an assassination
Because-
group, and they're the Black Lanterns.
That's
and that's
right.
who they are. And when they realized how good Hal Jordan was, like, hey, let's give another human a shot at this. And they go and they get him.
Yeah.
And they realize that humans have the ability to do something a little bit different with the rings. They're like, you're the wet works. So it's like, you're never going to be Green Lantern. You're never going to stand in the spotlight, but you are going to go kill a lot. He would be the Punisher of the universe. Yeah.
I'm happy if we see Hal Jordan. I think I'm more happier if I see Jon Stewart. I'd even give the execs of Warner Brothers credit if they gave us Simon Baz Green Lantern, which is the current one that's Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
So,
But can we change his costume? Because it's
yeah, I'm not a fan of the costume, but I would, just in a standardized. That's the other thing I would say about the Lantern Corps. Yes, the costume is very much everything is thought process, but the costumes are all the same. It's a uniform. It's a cop uniform.
Yeah.
So have them look similar with just tweaks here and there to represent their personalities.
Yeah,
But
and there's no real need for a mask. Just make his eyes glow. I think that was one thing I liked about Justice League Unlimited. Jon Stewart Jon Stewart never wore a mask. He just his
just
eyes
had
were
the eyes
glowing.
were glowing.
I mean,
Yep.
I think it's like if I saw some dude with glowing
eyes.
I don't think I remember what he looked like either.
it's like, so
Was there anything that stood out? Yeah, his eyes glowed green.
So that's got to bring us to the following topic. I'll try to keep this as short as I think I can. Doggone it. What happened during the time that we missed where we now have the possibility of a DC cinematic Elseworlds being lined up for us? So we were told, okay, we are going to have a Joker origin story outside of continuity. We're going to have possibly Matt Reeves the Batman outside of continuity, although they are adamantly denying that one. Certainly, we have the latest thing is the Joker origin movie. Todd Phillips directing is who they're looking for of the Hangover trilogy. Martin Scorsese producing in some fashion. And then, within the past couple of days, Leonardo DiCaprio, who they're wanting for this Joker origin story. I don't quite remember DiCaprio still being in his teens for an origin story, or even in his 20s. So I'm kind of curious about that. As is Jared Leto, who's like, what the hell's going on? I am stoked for the idea of an Elseworlds film. I think if it was pulled off correctly with DC, they have opened up a brand new avenue for hardcore comic book fans to witness things like Superman Red Sun, to witness things like Kingdom Come, to see, not that I think we'll ever get this one, but Batman Dracula. I know, like, everyone's like, what are you talking about? In the 90s, man, Kelly Jones with that art, doggone it, man. That was one of my favorite books to read. It was
Red
an Elseworlds
Rain.
story, the
Yes.
Red Rain story. I mean,
It was Batman versus Dracula, Red Rain, and then what was the last one?
I can't even remember the last one, man.
It was Red Dawn
I think that might have been it. I think, I don't know.
Oh yeah, Kelly Jones is one of my favorite Batman artists with the really long ears.
Yeah.
And it looks like claws coming off of his cape. I've always loved it. It was very Spawn-esque. Okay, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm pretty much
I'm
done.
gonna let Ziggy talk real quick.
Ziggy, go for it.
I would love to see a period piece Batman film, i.e., Gotham by Gaslight,
Yes.
Which is already in development as far as
is the
an
animated
animated.
series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just read this for the first time the other day, and I loved it because it just came back in print. The Doom That Came to Gotham, which is Mike Mignola's Lovecraft take.
That's right.
On 1920s
Yes.
Gotham City,
Yes.
with not really a steampunk Batman, but like early 20s era Batman, and it is amazing.
Good-
So I would
good
love
series.
to see something like that.
So I think, again, I know where you're going to go with the complaint on this because I'm already feeling it. But again,
Your senses are not wrong.
The fanboy in me would love to see this because you can have it with and I think if they were able to pull it off right, that's their way to beat Marvel Studios. But it's going to create confusion. And I know that's where you're going to go with this, and I don't disagree with you. But we're already having fast-tracked Harley and Joker with both Leto and Robbie saying that they are coming back for that. We know that's going to be in front of Suicide Squad 2 because they're having to push that back a year for begin filming for Will Smith. But we know we're getting Suicide Squad 2. We know we're getting the Batman trilogy from Matt Reeves of Planet of the Apes fame.
Yeah.
So we know that there are things coming. And again, I feel that we're never going to get out of the shadow of the argument is Ben Affleck staying as Batman as he's going as Batman. But I think this particular part allows for that. So we shall see.
I don't disagree on anything, actually. I think the only thing, really my only thing is I think it will breed confusion. I don't know that it adds anything. Though you're right. I would love to see some of these Elseworld takes. I really want to see Kingdom Come.
Oh, yeah.
But my fear is we're not going... Let me rephrase this. They are so busy trying to copy Marvel that they haven't figured out how to get ahead of it. I think if they had just not said, if they had just said, we're not going to go with a shared universe concept, but every movie, like if Batman wants to have if they want to have a Superman show up in a Batman film,
it can be done.
It could be done, but it didn't have to be the same guy. It could be completely different. Like everyone's costume, power, everything could just be suited for whatever movie you're in, right? Like The Dark Knight. Like if at some point you had that, let's say they continued that universe, there was a Superman that appeared in that. I think that would have worked versus, and then if they had a Superman
you're
movie,
saying if they, I was like, are you saying that there was one in there that I missed? Because
no, that's what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, instead of doing a universally shared universe where
it was just understood that that this existed in this universe and it could happen. You know what? But I think if that's what they're trying to do now is, I'm okay with that.
Like I said, I'll wait to see what happens.
I'll tell you what.
But I'm not enthusiastic about it because Warner Brothers has just shown that they don't. But you know what? We're gonna go too long on that topic because there is one topic I do need to talk about. Finish your thoughts.
You need to talk about. We don't need to do anything on the show. We can talk about on the show.
No, we need to talk about
this.
There's
nothing we need to. There are other things going on in this world
beg to differ.
where we don't have to talk about on the show.
Finish your point. I got to talk about this.
You know what? I'm curious to see how everything is going to pan out. Hopefully, everything is good to go.
Fair enough.
So
this brings me to something. And this is when I said earlier that I wanted to mention one last thing about the Defenders, but this was the hour I want to talk about it in. And this is exactly the point. I love the Defenders. I love Netflix. I love everything about it except for what we've previously discussed. That being said, I was way more excited for the Tick that came out.
Oh, okay. So Amazon just premiered the new Tick series. Okay.
Yes, they did. Okay. Before we go too far,
look at that picture. That is one sexy blue butt.
Yes, it is.
Gotta love that.
Now, can I open this whole conversation with?
I'll tell you what. Let me start.
Okay.
Just because I know you're about to ramble for a bit on this, and I'm going to give you your time to do that. I haven't seen the entire series. I know you're probably going to spoil it for me right now. I have seen the first episode. The humor on this show, I love. And I like, from what I've seen so far, where they're going with Arthur and the Tick's relationship. It's not all the time that we get to see it play out exactly how we want it to play out, but certainly I thought for me, it's definitely the right take. It's the first good one we see here, a picture of Arthur in his costume. So I'm totally, again, I've been watching it. I will finish watching it probably in the next week or so. But with that being said, man, take it away because I know the Tick is one of your favorite all-time characters.
He is. And I mean, going back to when Ben Edlund was producing him independently in black and white. So I'm when I say I'm a fan of the Tick, I'm not saying, oh, I remember watching the show when I was a kid. No, I went back to the original stuff. This show is everything I wanted out of Tick. And what I mean is they have radically...
That's high praise, man.
It is. And I'm going to say this, and I'm trying not to spoil anything. They changed... When Ben Edlund first created this character back in the 90s, it was clearly a parody of... And it was an obvious parody of everything, right? One of the first superheroes he runs across, because really the first couple is Oedipus, who's clearly Elektra. And there's a scene where her evil stepmother's looking outside and says, and there's ninjas surrounding her house, and they're all holding...
This is the book, or this is comic?
This is the original comic, okay? And Oedipus's evil stepmother is looking outside, and she sees this group of ninjas who are all holding like single branches, or they'd have branches tied to their head, and said, huh, when do we have a hedge installed? Right? It was an obvious, there were a lot of obvious jokes. Mm-hmm. It was, I don't want to say sophomore, because that's not what I mean, because it was brilliant. But what I'm saying is, it was an obvious type of parody. And we see that with like Deflator Mouse in the cartoon, and later, who later became Batman for the live action, the first live action series that came out with Patrick Warburton.
I haven't not, again, I've only watched the first one, but please tell me there's a Batman that we're getting to in the Tick series.
No, there is no Batman. All
right, go ahead.
There is a Punisher-like character, though.
Okay, go
What
ahead.
I will say this is that he has radically altered everything about that universe.
Well, the creator is a big part of this show.
He's
right?
writing.
Yeah, he's writing the show. Yeah,
yeah. And what he's done is he has radically altered the nature of that universe in such a way that it still stays true to the Tick comics. But it's something very, very new, and it is brilliant. And I'm going to even go so far as to say this is the universe that DC should have had.
Okay.
And I'm going to say it this way. It is a legitimately... going back a couple of episodes, or we only had 2 episodes, so going back maybe an episode, we said that Man of Steel, the problem was they went too real world, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a real world universe in which actual superheroes exist, and there's levity. Like the humor is in the average, ordinary people's reaction to these people existing. Again, this isn't a spoiler. There's a scene where some criminals are in to take money from. They're not robbing it. It's the what you call it when you take money from a
ATM.
No,
Poor people.
that too. But no
Taxes.
Yes, actually, no.
Your wallet.
There's no money in there, so I wouldn't know.
Because you're married.
Yes. No. Protection money, right? So they're paying. So this local grocer convenience store, neighborhood convenience store is getting ready to pay his protection money, and the Tick walks up, puts his hand down on the cash, looks at the bad guys, and says, "Gentlemen, you will not be taking money from this man anymore, or anyone else in this neighborhood." And the humor is the guy saying, "No, I'm going to pay him. Let me pay them." It's like he won. He's just like, I need to pay this person. I need to pay these people, please. And you have that, and again, this really isn't spoiling anything. But the thing I told you in the car, actually, do you think that'd be a bit of a spoiler?
I think that would be a bit of a spoiler.
It goes from obscenely funny to being actually, I think, really motivational in an obscenely funny way. So they have radically altered the nature of the Tick and Arthur, their relationship, because in the comics, Arthur was actually looking out for the Tick. He was searching him out to teach him how to be a superhero.
Yeah.
That is very much not the relationship they have in this series. And there is a very deep underlying mystery to the Tick in this that was always sort of present in the comics, but I think is very much alluded that is really central to this show in a way that really I don't think Ben Edlund had ever really explored before. There is a possibility of the Tick being something that we've never seen, and I think that and I think it's I want more of this. It's only 6 episodes long. It does end on a cliffhanger, but holy cow, I want more of this series. I want it more than apple pie. That's because I don't like apple pie. I prefer cherry.
Then that was a bad joke.
Bite me. So yes, The Tick is if you don't have Amazon Prime, first of all, you need to have Amazon Prime because it's great.
I'll screw that. Wait a couple of days and look on YouTube. I'm sure it'll be there.
But it's like if you don't have Amazon Prime, this show is worth buying Amazon Prime just to watch.
Huh. That's high praise. Amazon Prime is what, $100 a year or something like that? $99 a year?
I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
All right. I think they got monthly subscriptions now.
Yeah.
So basically, rent Amazon Prime for 1 month, watch The Tick, and feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to see The Tick, Ziggy?
I have not, but I am a big fan of both the comics and the original animated series, and I have a soft spot for some of the episodes from the Patrick Warburton
Yeah.
series.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with Patrick
with,
Warburton's version. Yeah.
The Michael Ironsides
Yeah.
old superhero character. That is truly a great moment in TV history.
I'll tell you what, and I did like the writing on this because it's one of the first few shows. You know, they always say, you've got a limited time to obtain to your audience, which apparently everyone acknowledges except for us when we're doing this show. But there's the opening sequence of how superheroes begin, where again it's what you just said, where it's the reaction of the people around them, so that we see this. And the first introduction of their Superman-like character, the native people,
Russians,
the Russians at this time just sit there and look. And one of the Russians guys is sitting there looking, and he's like, "Yeah, that just happened." He was like, "Hey," he's like, "What?" He goes, "Your reindeer are on fire," and it wasn't the fact that he said your reindeer are on fire. It's the look of the guy that goes, "Oh," and it makes the run for it to go put the reindeer out. And it's just, it's just genius. You just hurt yourself there.
Yes.
There you go. So I do love the humor on this. I can't wait to finish the other 5 episodes. So, and what people aren't noticing right now that I get to see my co-host doing is Jason's actually he's a pretty decent artist, which we'll bring up at the end of this show. And he's just sitting here drawing the Tick right now as we do. Jason, you want to hold that up? He's sitting here going through a quick version of the Tick. So we'll delve into that a little bit later as well. So I'm totally stoked for that, dude. I can't wait.
I think this pretty much is because again, without ruining anything,
Yeah.
I can't really speak in anything else. But I will say this: what's his face? He was Rorschach. And
Oh,
Freddy
you're
Krueger.
talking about
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jakey Earl Haley plays the Terror in this, and he is at once very terrifying. Like, he's legitimately scary in this show, even though his costume's a little preposterous. He's legitimately scary, but also kind of relatable. Like
at
in a
what
funny
point
way.
do you relate to a supervillain?
Trust me, the supervillains in this are actually kind of relatable, and that's part of the humor too.
Have you seen Jeremy Renner's Dahmer?
Oh my God, that's right. That is absolutely right. Or for that matter, Christian Bale's American Psycho.
Psycho.
Yeah.
You that looked a little too. You related to that a little too much for my taste.
I'm just saying maybe anyway. I
Let's
I
move
don't
on.
condone, but I don't condemn.
Let's move on to Shin Godzilla because you finally got a chance to see
Oh
that.
my gosh! So Shin
I'll let you have
Godzilla
that.
has been out for a year in Japan. What's the studio name?
Toho.
Toho, right? Okay, so they were like, hey, you know what? America's redoing theirs. You know what? It's time to redo our version of this. And I found a copy over at Best Buy because they only had like 2. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, only nerds really know about this. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest.
Yeah.
How many people are up to speed on what Japan's doing with their version of Godzilla? Having said that, I got to watch this, and I'm not going to spoil anything because first off, it's a Godzilla movie. It's kind of easy to figure out the plot of this damn movie.
What's the plot of the movie?
It's convoluted. So anyway, what I enjoyed about this movie immensely is it was not a watered down version of what would happen in a real world scenario. this very much played into the politics
Yes.
of the current Japan situation, their fear of the bomb, and what it can cause, and the absolute asinine bureaucracy that they have to go through to even look at something that could happen and how they would react to it.
Well, I've heard a lot that this movie specifically tackles the idea of the bureaucratic failures in the wake of Fukushima.
Yes,
And it deals with that very heavily from the human side.
It is genius on how they deal with that. That is a focus of this movie through the government's change, how they view America, which I thought was really interesting because a lot of people would just think, "Oh my gosh, it's America," the typical thing. But it's not, because they know when it's too much. They also know when they are going to need some assistance. And seeing how this thing played out, it was a very, I think, Jason, I told you, for me, it was seeing Godzilla through grown-up eyes.
Yeah.
Because if this creature, appeared, how are you going to combat it? The fact that they were sitting there and going through the political side of this and seeing how it failed them was genius. Seeing how they rebelled against it was genius. And it was just a very grown-up Godzilla. And then when they did get to Godzilla, it was a very grown-up way of seeing how to deal with it. And that, for me, watching the maturity of this movie was more fascinating than actually seeing some of the destruction scenes. Very impressed by it. Very impressed. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say I love what we did with Godzilla, in the States.
Right.
But I love this version of Godzilla so much more.
Well, okay. Just to briefly tie this back to the DC Elseworlds thing. Japan has had a history of, both with their anime and in their television shows and in their movies, of doing things in different universes, right? Like when you have...
I'm glad you're saying this because we were about to bring this home, but go ahead.
Because, when you have all these different shows of Gundam Wing, right, or of Gundam, essentially they're all different universes. Everything's reimagined, and really everything since the '60s for Godzilla.
I'm sorry, man. I'm laughing because I know what I'm about to do. Go ahead. I don't think you understand this.
Anyway.
I agree with you. Godzilla can exist in any form, way, possible.
Right, and so they've explored that.
And nothing should be off limits to the universe of Godzilla. So if my boy Barkley
I can't see.
can get into to Godzilla, I think anything is possible. This is true. This right here is a masterpiece.
That is, I was lucky enough to find that in a random box of comics that I was looking through, and that is probably my favorite comic that I own. And honestly, I have never read it because I'm afraid that when I take it out of the wrap, it's going to just disintegrate in my hands like some dream.
The sad thing is, I remember when this came out.
Uh-huh.
I remember seeing it on the shelf thinking,
okay, I have to see this.
Why is Godzilla... Don't open it. I don't
I'm
want
not
it to turn
open
to
it.
dust.
Oh, no, I'm not, yeah.
But why is Godzilla fighting Charles Barkley? But then the more I learned about Charles Barkley, I was like, this actually kind of makes sense. So, well played.
Wow.
It is very much a... it is very much... Again, I cannot say enough good things about Shin Godzilla. I think everyone should watch it at least once. If you are a fanboy, this has got to be on your must list for me.
Yes.
It is very... I love it. And the other thing they did it almost in a documentary style for covering government without it being that first-person camera BS.
Right, yeah.
That absolutely makes me nauseous. So anyway, that's my take on Shin Godzilla.
And I think I really couldn't add to it except for the just pointing out some of the cultural visuals. there's a scene where he's destroying Tokyo, and really, it's very when he's first really using his atomic breath, right?
Yes.
It starts off as fire, like he's vomiting fire, and then it turns into that atomic breath. And there's this scene where it pans out, and it's just him, and just everything is on fire. What we have to say, like you said, talking about the bomb, like there are allusions to the original bomb, but really, it's back to World War II with that is very much the firebombing of Tokyo,
Oh no, and so the movie is smart enough,
right?
to
'Cause
point
it's
this
about
out.
Fukushima,
Yeah,
right?
and the movie is smart enough to address it. And one of the, again, I don't want to give away too much because I hope people
Right.
are going to watch this, but they absolutely stress and talk about the fact that they've already lived through this twice.
Yeah.
They don't want to live through this again.
Yeah.
And so I, you know, outside looking in, I'll be the first one to honestly be like, I wouldn't think that would still, you know, does that form a history? How do people feel about that now? But to have it displayed the way that they displayed it, I thought was very,
Yeah, the visuals.
again, it was a very mature take on it, man. I loved it.
Well, and the other aspect of this, in going back to something a lot of people don't realize, because we're used to the more modern versions of Godzilla. A lot of people wondered why he looked the way he does, right? Because it looks like his skin's breaking open. It looks like he's sort of decrepit. Because part of it is the evolution he goes throughout the series or throughout the movie. The original Godzilla did not actually have scales. They were designed. I forget. It's a type of scarring that you get from radiation.
Yep.
That was very prominent in Japan
The
after World.
survivors.
Yeah, the survivors after World. It's Ziggy, if you can find that.
The hibakusha, I know that's the term for the survivors of the bomb, but I will look for that skin condition.
Yeah, it's a something scarring. But anyway, and that is what he was really designed to have, was because he was woken up by the bomb and the testing. He's very much a product of radiation, so his skin was originally designed not to be scaly. Essentially, he was scarred. And so they went back to that concept. So yes, this movie visually does borrow a lot from the events of World War II, from the firebombing of Japan, to the fact that he is not scaled. He's scarred. He's breaking. Yeah.
And we're looking at the picture right now of the scarring. But if you notice, again, this is where it's getting some of the inspiration for
visually.
it.
But you're right. This is very much about Fukushima, and I think the fact that they deliberately paired the bombing with Fukushima, it was also in and of itself a commentary from the Japanese psyche. They are saying, yes, this thing destroyed us, but we have to live with it because this is where our power comes from. Yeah. But if something goes wrong, we have to live with those problems. And I think that's borne out by even the ending of the movie, which I won't spoil, but it basically
they still have to deal with this, and it's not a cliffhanger ending by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you know that at some point someone was like, okay, this is a great movie, but we do have to leave, you know, this is still our franchise character, so we do have to leave room open for this. Again, I just thought it was I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. So anyway, we've got, I think we're on a rundown of the last 8 minutes or so of the show.
Okay. So, one quick thing I would like to,
let's shotgun this last one.
We're shotgun the last couple, then we'll get to the last 4 questions. For guys, if you know, a lot of people probably, going back to Netflix, a lot of y'all probably don't, you're not necessarily looking for new things. But if you haven't seen, it's an anime called Kuro Makuro. Yes, that's it. Yep. That is a really great anime to watch. It kind of the anime, the mecha design isn't great, but the story is very well thought out. It is brilliantly executed. And one of the things I like is this is something I've complained about for years in the whole giant mech genre, right? This was my primary complaint about Pacific Rim, because they never bother to explain, why is building a giant robot better than just dropping a bomb on these damn things? This show actually shows, yes, you need a mech to fight these things. Here's why. And it gives you an excuse for them to exist, and a plausible excuse for them to exist, and to be practical. But the show is really very, very, very smart.
Which will bring me to another point to kind of stem off of Shin Godzilla as well. Guys, don't be afraid to read subtitles, because sometimes there's a lot lost in translation with an English dub that you wouldn't get by reading that. And for me, that's what made Godzilla stand out even more. Same thing with this show. Don't be afraid to watch the subtitled version of it. If you only got the English dub, that's fine. But if you've got a chance of watching something that's from overseas that's produced, go through the subtitles. It's not going to kill you.
Yeah, and learn a little bit about other cultures. I really have been a fan of the Japanese culture and of its history for years. So a lot of things I forget that some people aren't aware of certain traditions, certain things. But it's really, like I said, this show is really very smart. And it's worth a watch. It's only 2 seasons long. I think there's a 3rd season that's being negotiated by Netflix. But it's really great. Give it a watch. Okay. New Terminator trilogy. Do we actually care all that much?
I'm surprised that Arnold's attached to this again.
Okay.
I'm also surprised that okay, look, right. So what we're
What
looking
was
at.
wrong with Genesis that everyone freaked? I thought it was great.
I'll jump on that in a minute, but so we just got the re-release of Terminator 2 in 3D in advance of the 4K version coming out, which I think this makes it like the 15th version of this movie they've released.
The only thing that
in
has
some type of format. 10. This is the 10th version. Or 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes.
I got that.
Yeah, the only thing that has more
No, I was
versions of
like-
this is Blade Runner.
I was like, are we is that how many versions? I was just being a smart ass at the beginning, but all right, cool. So we're gonna go into that. But anyways, do I think we need another one? I thought Genesis was good. I will say that whoever the trailer designer was, whoever produced that trailer, should have been fired as giving out the biggest spoiler of that movie.
Yep.
But certainly, I felt it was a decent flick, and I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I liked it.
I liked it.
But we're gonna get another reboot.
Because God knows we need more of those.
That's what we need. So
On to more reboots and films that have, again,
oh my
only more
gosh.
versions.
Okay, so Sony in the last 2 days, this just came out. Sony just acquired the rights to The Crow. The original Crow. To me, it's I will be honest on 2 things. One, it's always going to be a classic to me. But 2, why do we need a reboot? Why? I mean, that's one of those things.
Leave it alone,
and
move
not
on.
only that, but Jason Momoa still kind of attached to it from the past studio that had it. I mean, dude, if you're gonna reboot it, if you're gonna reboot this movie, do me a favor, honor James O'Barr's source material.
Yeah.
Because it was complete. And again, I love The Crow with Brandon Lee. I do. It's one of my favorite movies. But doggone it, the book had so much. It was so different and so much more tragic and so much more hopeful and inspiring.
Yes.
Then adapt that. Don't adapt the movie and don't just adapt the whatever, but adapt the source material.
Yes.
This is one of those times where that will be okay.
Also, again, as far as things that have had multiple re-releases, Blade Runner. The new one, 2049, is coming out, and they this week have released. Is that not?
I don't think it might have been 2 weeks ago, but that is.
Yeah, the poster. But the poster was released 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
this week they released the short film that sort of sets up the movie.
Oh my gosh, how did I miss this? Seriously?
It is amazing.
Where can we find that?
Online? I
Okay.
thought,
Is this on their main site?
I don't know if it's on their main site. I saw they released it, and it was posted to a news site that posted to Facebook. That's how I found it. And it is Jared Leto, the guy who plays Wong in the Doctor Strange movie, is in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jared Leto, a replicant, and then a council of people sitting in a room. I'm not going to spoil it. I want y'all to watch it, but this sets up a really interesting conversation about what they're going to be. I think that's really going to tell us what they're going to be doing with this new movie. It's amazing.
Blade Runner 2049 is a movie that we did not realize we needed.
Yes,
That's how I
agree.
feel about this movie.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel about it. Now, on that note, last 4 questions.
Are we on the last 4 questions already?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a good stretch, get warmed up.
All right, we're going. It's too late, man. The NFL, does that commissioner, Goodell, have too much power when it comes to the Ezekiel Elliott judgment? And we're not talking about a character of a person, simply the due process of what's going on.
I think that they are overreacting. I think a lot of this comes back to they have been so lax in the past on behavior that they're overcompensating and not allowing for proper due process.
All right. So we recently, within the past 3 days, there has been a new. We've got, as far as scientists and everything else, when we originally set out the SETI program, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, we've been bouncing radio signals back and forth. This week they announced that, yes, they've actually had a conductive study done, and it looks like we're getting bursts of radio signals coming from outer space. Your take?
I would not be surprised. Anyone who's read any of the books that I've written about eschatology should
Oh my
recognize.
God! Did you just actually plug your own stuff? Okay.
Yes, I plugged my own stuff. In fact, I will be posting the links to all my books.
Shut up. This one is for you, you specifically. I'll move that to the second one. The Mayweather McGregor fight
Yes.
did not disappoint,
It did not. I was wrong about
which
that.
I was surprised.
Like I said, I thought it was going to be boring. It was not. I think a lot of now. The only question I have is I read one more writer, and I haven't gone back to rewatch the fight, largely because I think it's boring and I don't care. But that being said,
You got 19, 17, 15. Go.
Okay. They think that McGregor was actually pulling and holding back during the fight, maybe because of the payout. Like I said, don't know.
Don't know.
That's it.
Okay. Last thing. All the Mothman sightings in Chicago as of recently.
If I'm in the
Too late, man. It's game over.
Damn it. Okay. If you live in Chicago, I would get out while the getting is good.
Oh my God.
Not just because Mothman has been hanging out where y'all are. That's a big enough reason, because usually that means something bad is about to happen.
Really?
Just because you live in Chicago and it's the murder capital of the world, get out
Of the world or of the
world.
states?
You know what? I'm going to say the world. I know it's not really the murder capital
my
of the world.
gosh.
We have Latin America for that, but no.
Fatality.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, yeah. Honestly, get out of Chicago just because.
Because of Chicago?
Just because it's Chicago. Just take the pizza with you. Take Giordano's with you.
Bring it down.
Bring it down here to Texas. We'll take care of you.
Spoken like a true fat ass. Just bring us your food, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, no, that's all I want. Bring me Giordano's, and y'all will live. But I'm just saying, Mothman and probably not something good to be.
Oh
hanging
my
out
gosh!
with.
All right. So before we cut out, show them your finished product on
right.
the tick there. Look at that. I hate to admit when someone's a good at anything, but I got to admit my friend here of so long, he actually does know how to draw. To which we will start bringing this up on other shows. I think what we're going to do is on a couple of shows, we're going to have him draw something, and maybe we'll run some contest for some free artwork from Mr. McLean. But we'll talk about that on later shows. Ziggy, ending comments, bud?
I finally got a chance to read the Fred Van Lente miniseries Weird Detective, which
Okay.
is like a crime procedural
Yes.
from the viewpoint of one of the great old ones, I believe, from Lovecraft,
Yeah.
come to in human form. And it is very good, and it is very funny. And I've been also reading a bunch of the reboot of the Warren Comics Creepy series, so those are really fun. So
There you go.
yeah, that's what I've been up to lately.
Catch up, people. Jason?
I think I'm good. Like I said, you know what, guys, just be good to everybody. There's enough going on around here. I don't think we need any more negativity, do we? I don't think so. And in that spirit,
Paying it forward.
pay it forward. I made
duck.
you a goose.
A goose, yeah.
It's a goose. All right. On that note, I think we will say
think we're
goodbye
good.
for this episode, and we'll be here again in 2 weeks.
Be good, people.